Hello and welcome to what you will be seeing the first time you click the new game button in Europa Universalis 5. This is the start screen. This is a small selection of recommended countries that you can play in the game, and I have some things to say about it because I'm not sure I agree with their choices here, but either way, I'll get into that. What I will say before we get into that, though, is if you don't want to see this at all, and you want to just click any country as, you know, a normal game of Europe Universalis would be, then you just select this book, select any country. You don't need to see this. You don't need to see this. This is relevant for you. But if you're a brand new player, it might be useful. I will say, though, again, I don't agree with their choices here, and I think the categories that they've got here are somewhat wrong in some places. So let's start with what I think should not be involved here. And that's Holland. Honestly, Holland is not the country in the Netherlands that I would recommend to people. And I think generally it suffers quite a bit from the food crisis. It is incredibly well developed, like urbanized, and there's not a whole lot of food around in its own significant, like, small market center. And it's got two very, very strong market centers in Paris and London, quite nearby. They've got the Köln market, which is quite strong, and they've got Lübeck market, which is quite strong. They're all quite close by. And Holland will be struggling until it unifies and becomes the Netherlands, really making use of their market as well. The market center, I believe it's in Bruges, and it might have changed in the patch that we got earlier today. We have now got access to the release patch of the game, so maybe it's changed. I don't know for sure. But Bruges was not a very good place for the market center. It suffered from pretty bad harbor suitability, which meant that the amount of trade power it could push out, the market attraction, it was just not great. And generally, it was a better idea to move the market somewhere else. Maybe that's changed. But either way, Holland would still suffer from food-related crises. And I've seen a few of the creators that have played Holland, because a bunch of new guys got invited to this pre-release situation as of a couple of days ago. Seen quite a few of them really quite struggling with Holland. I mean, they clicked it because it's a recommended country, and they're struggling quite a bit. I think if you want to have a country in this region that is a more appropriate one to choose, Flanders. they're kind of just right here. They are protected by their daddy France. They start as a vassal. They can get free relatively easily, and you won't generally have England declaring war on you randomly to take your land, which kind of sometimes happens as Holland, unfortunately. So Holland, I think, probably not the best choice for economy. If I was going to choose an economy tag, Flanders would be decent, though. Again, I think I don't know, the qualifier of economy, it means like this is what you're going to be learning about when you play the game, how to build an economy. And maybe Flanders still suits for that. That's fine. Hungary for economy seems fine. It's very, very rich. It's powerful. It doesn't have any strong neighbors nearby. You can just sit in your rather large amount of land and develop it, build your buildings, what have you. Ottomans for expansion, I mean, there's obviously no more need said about that. That's absolutely fine. Castile expansion, I would have added a new category here and said colonialization. Colonization? Colonialism. That's what they're really good at. That's what their vibe is. I guess expansion, you could go after Portugal, Aragon, Granada, form Spain, etc. Going to North Africa is also very, very doable. But colonization is really the expansion that this country is going to really push you towards. Naples politics, I actually would give them expansion, because your goal as Naples is very, very clear in front of you. You want to form 2 Sicilies. You can do that very early by fabricating a claim on Sicily. You have cores on all of the islands, so getting the claim is very, very easy. And then you want to push north, and you want to form Italy. And I would argue that's a very expansionist kind of game that you're looking for if you play Naples. I will say, while Naples is a really, really good choice for a starter country, I personally would have said Milan for a starter country. It's the country that I started with, and I used Milan as expansion to form Italy, and it was a very, very pleasing experience. Start quite urbanized, but the food isn't terrible. You got a clear goal in front of you. Very, very good, enjoyable run as Milan. I recommend it. And the one that maybe stands out to you is Norway. And again, it's choosing this politics label. And I guess you're looking at, what are the politics between Norway and Sweden and Denmark, negotiating and kind of navigating that situation. But really, I would have chosen... Politics is a bad label. I've chosen something like development as a label, because, and I'm going to just use the words of someone else here, Liana Hafer, who I've been doing a podcast with on EU5, the 3 Moves Ahead podcast. There's a link in the description if you want to go and check it out. It is a Patreon exclusive thing, so you do have to pay to listen to most episodes. But I'm gonna just quote her here in saying, Norway is the exact opposite of Flanders, which she describes as being in a Goldilocks geography zone. Norway is the exact opposite, where you'll immediately learn how important geography is while trying to make the best of terrible geography. So, yeah, geographically, Norway has some issues. There's a lot of mountains. You're going to have to negotiate or navigate the terrible geography that Norway has in that regard. And that will teach you a lot about the game and how it works. And also, do a little bit of colonization here and there. Why not? For a political, learning how the politics of the game works, I think you're probably looking at a Bohemia game, or honestly, no, Bohemia is a fantastic choice for that. You start off with, incredibly rich. You got a ton of gold and silver mines. You can realistically play the game without territorial expansion for the most part and be totally fine. Politics, you're in the HRE, so you're navigating that Holy Roman Empire situation, which obviously takes a lot of finagling and maneuverment. And so Bohemia is very, very good for a political tutorial. You're strong enough that you don't generally need to worry about a random declaration of war that just ruins your game. You can navigate the HRE situation. You can also turn Hussite and learn a little bit about religious conversion, the religious wars before the Protestant versus Catholic religious wars kick off. I would have said they were a better choice for politics. Naples, I mean, they're the leader of the Guelphs. I think it's the Guelphs. I always mix Guelphs and Ghibellines up, but they're leader of the Guelphs, so I guess there's a little bit of politics there, but I don't really rate that situation too terribly highly. And I played a lot in Italy, so yeah, that would be my suggestion. But anyway, we've been ranting for almost 9 minutes now, and this is actually going to be a video about a dev diary. So let's go and have a look at that dev diary. We're going to be having a look at the onboarding systems of the game. If you are interested in more rambles like this, more rants, more details about this game that we're all very hyped about, hit the subscribe button. I do this a lot recently, so help me out by clicking the link and buying the game with my creator code as well. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, welcome to another Tinto Talks, the happy Wednesdays where we talk about EU5. As you may have noticed, Evife, I've butchered that, and Eric, I'm very, very sorry. I am not Yuan or Pavia, therefore this is my first official forum post in the forums introducing Eric Vicent. Vicent. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce it. They're a UX designer and UI team coordinator at Paradox Tinto. Before joining Paradox back in 2020, he was, just like most of us, a completely and utterly addicted Paradox fan of many years, having Europa Universalis as his core franchise, followed by CK and Hearts of Iron. Some of you may recall him from the behind-the-scenes videos that they've been posting on YouTube.
My name is Eric Vicent, and I'm the UX designer and coordinator at Paradox Tinto.
And probably others may recognize me as an odd-looking armor in Skoloster's Castle Armory with Leif. Great video. You should check that one out.
Oh, Eric!
Welcome to the Armory.
Thank you.
Where they did some cool interviews the past spring. So, boring part out of the way, let's move on to the fun stuff, the onboarding systems. So, this week they're pulling back the curtain on one of the toughest design challenges that they've had so far. Teaching a grand strategy game that's truly grand. If you've ever tried to explain EU to a friend, you probably know the look. The 1,000-yard stare that says, wait, so you're a country? And what exactly is an estate again? I mean, I don't know if I would explain what estates are to somebody I'm trying to explain the game to, but you know, everyone has their onboarding techniques of preference, I guess. Designing a learning experience for the game this deep is no small feat, but as game developers, they can't just shrug and say they'll figure it out. The goal is to invite players, new and veteran, into the grand strategy mindset by not burying them under spreadsheets on day one. So in the dev diary, they're going to talk about recommended countries, missions, and walkthroughs that ease us into the core mechanics, along with hints, automation, and other tools that will help us along the way. Also, he'll be explaining the 3 design pillars that guided us during the challenge: integration, pace, and reward. So together they form the backbone of a learning experience built not just to explain EU5, but to make the act of learning it part of the fun by adding tutorials into something you'll actually want to play. So, yeah, you know what? Integrating the various learning methods into the game seems like a good idea. Pacing things, obviously. Rewarding players for doing things that, you know, help their game seems reasonable. Seems very reasonable. So, before building any system meant to teach, they had to answer a fundamental question. Whom are we really teaching? A game like this attracts a wide range of players, from veterans who can and want to calculate trade good market prices values in their sleep, to curious newcomers drawn by maps, flags, and a high-level ambition. But no two players engage with the same mechanics in the same way, and in a game of this scale, trying to learn everything at once is unrealistic. Some players thrive on diplomacy and the art of negotiation, others find joy in mastering the flow of gold and goods, and a fair few simply prefer to solve geopolitical problems with cannons. Reasonable. So, there are a bunch of playstyles, and how to embrace them all, they've grouped them into 3 broad archetypes: politics, economy, and expansion. See, again, though, I feel like there's more to it than that. Each offering its own path through the grand tapestry of EU5. So, a politics playstyle focuses on the internal politics by dealing with the administration and estates of your country, and also establishing deals and alliances with other countries to strengthen your international position. Main panels involved are the government and society and diplomacy. Okay. The economy playstyle focuses on the economic development of the country, pursue national prosperity by exploiting land, constructing buildings, and importing goods in different markets. Main panels are the economy and the production tabs. Okay. So the expansion, focusing on the army and navy, declare war on enemies, take control of neighboring lands by force, expand your navy to control the seas, expand your maritime presence. So main panels there in military and geopolitics. I mean, okay, I kind of take a little issue with this. So, politics playstyle includes internal politics, so focusing on your estates. Eco playstyle, constructing buildings. No matter which of these you do, constructing buildings is going to take up a large part of your game. I mean, unless you turn on the automation for building, but like, that's so, in the early game, unless you're playing like Yuan, but, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like an internal development system would be estates and goods, like production, constructing buildings, that kind of way. I feel like I would put those two together and call it like a development style. I don't know. Internal development, external development, warfare. Seems like, I don't know, that feels stronger to me. But either way, I mean, maybe they know better. Okay, so we have a taxonomy on playstyle archetypes and main mechanics tied to them. Okay. The expansion wants to do land and naval warfare, exploration and colonization. Politics wants to screw around with the parliament, laws and the cabinet, the estates, and then also just talk to other countries without a diplomacy. Fair enough. And then the economy is balanced trade, production, and buildings. I mean, trade is just like such a huge thing. So, recommended countries. At the start of the game, players will find a curated list of 6 recommended countries, each hand-picked to offer a smooth and meaningful first experience. Yeah, I mean, maybe this was a better hand-picked list way back when it was picked to be on this list, but I just don't think it is now the best options. These nations are divided across the 3 playstyles, 2 political, 2 economic, and 2 expansion-oriented, ensuring that every type of player has a natural starting point. This classification doesn't restrict what you can do with each country. You're free to pursue any path you like. It simply means that for your first steps, onboarding systems that include walkthroughs will emphasize the mechanics most relevant to that playstyle. For instance, a politically focused country will first introduce the inner workings of governance and diplomacy, while an economically minded nation will help you grasp production chains and trade networks. As your campaign progresses, these same countries will gradually open the door to the other 2 playstyles, allowing you to explore warfare, economics, and politics in a natural progression rather than all at once. The country that I find goes to war the fastest, I mean, other than obviously the Ottomans is very, very quick, but like Naples, like I said, you go to war against Sicily ridiculously quickly. That's just like the first step. I don't know. It doesn't gradually open this door to you. Like, this is what you start with cores on them. Castile, I mean, that's way slower. Ottomans, obviously, they get the Rise of the Turk situation that could be very, very quick. But yeah, no, it's Naples. it's straight up Naples. Anyway, by choosing one of the 6 nations, new players can step confidently into the world of Caesar. Interesting. With a structured learning path built around the onboarding pillars that they'll discuss later, ensuring a gentle start to what will eventually become a truly grand experience. So we have a generic walkthrough as well. This, look, if we're just talking about the tutorial here, I think the tutorial is actually fantastic. As far as tutorials go, this is better than every other tutorial Paradox has ever made. And I truly mean it. It's not bluff or bluster or whatever. This is actually a really good tutorial. Once you chose your starting country, you'll enter what they call the generic walkthrough, the foundational layer of EU5's onboarding experience. This step-based journey introduces the core mechanics every player needs to grasp before moving on to specialization, game systems like balance, pops estates, and other fundamental frameworks, such as the outliner, map modes, hints, and automations that shape the management of your nation. So, you get your little welcome screen, and then it gets straight. Yeah, it's basically the tutorial. It shows you exactly what it's talking about. You can't progress until you've done the various tasks, like this is telling you about tooltips. To continue, you need to hover your mouse over the text, and then you need to lock it in place either by waiting or what I recommend using action lock, so middle mouse button press, to lock this tooltip in place, and then you can go to another one, and then you can go to next tooltip. And the tutorial kind of follows on from this and shows you, I think, everything at a surface level, at least. All of the systems that the game employs, it does a really good job of just showing you how to play. There's obviously stuff that it's not going to show you, but that is like stuff to explore afterwards. It's enough to get you playing at a level that is enjoyable. And I think that's exactly what a tutorial needs to do. But yeah, no, I really heavily rate the tutorial, and it is for any country. Like they said, it's a generic tutorial. You can play this tutorial with any nation in the game. I recommend a nation that can actually fulfill most of the objectives. There are some objectives that were, let's say, impossible. I know a lot of people actually played as Holland when they did the tutorial, and one of the things that happened was they got soft blocked out of the tutorial because I think it asked you to build a road, or no, it asked you to have a positive balance, and even whacking all the sliders all the which way they needed to be, it was impossible to go into a positive amount of money, and so they got soft locked out and had to quit and start again. I'm sure that's been fixed. Well, I know that's been fixed because they've now added a skip button to some of them, but I don't know if the Holland situation has been fixed on that front. Anyway, the main goal of the walkthrough is to serve as your first introduction to the world of EU5, not only by explaining the main mechanics step by step, but by showing you why, where, and when they matter. Each stage helps players locate relevant systems in the interface, understand their purpose, and recognize when they become important. And again, it works. It does a really, really good job. It does a really, really good job of what it sets out to do. So obviously it's showing you the hints menu here. In the tutorial, makes you open it, highlights where it's supposed to be, you click it, you get your hints to, menu, etc. It's good. It's a good tutorial. It does the job. Progression isn't based on simply reading and acknowledging the instructions. It's about taking action and experiencing the results. Each task asks the player to interact with the game world and observe the consequences, because learning by doing is far more effective than passively following the directions. This is true. So yeah, this one wants you to automate all the taxes to the estate, so it makes you click all of these buttons so that the automation systems will take care of this for you. This is a thing that I recommend people do anyway, other than the clergy. You should always just keep that at 0, even if you can text them, just no, don't. But clicking these, it's not the objectively best way of dealing with your estates. The best way is by taking the maximum amount of money up until they get to 50 loyalty or satisfaction. Or if they are at negative, then make it so that their equilibrium is 0.2 above where they currently are, and then whack it up a little bit more every single month. It's tiring. Just click the button. Just click the button. It's better. On average, the generic walkthrough can take around 15 to 20 minutes to complete, depending, of course, on how deep your relationship with tooltips is. Some players breeze through it, others take a short detour into a tooltip reading odyssey. Now, here's the best part. The generic walkthrough flows seamlessly into your actual campaign. You're not playing a separate tutorial, you're already ruling your country, making decisions that carry real weight, and this system isn't restricted to the recommended nations. You can launch the generic walkthrough with any country in the world at any time. Of course, it's also optional. You can skip it at any given moment and go back when you want another attempt, or a quick memory refresher. Also, just a very, very good idea, obviously. Yeah, this one as well. Look, this one's interesting, right? Move the minting sliders to mint some shiny ducats. Make sure you're not creating inflation. This is something that I think they need to have automated. I would like it so that I have a button here that will make it so that my minting will automatically go to exactly this level, where it is, 0 inflation, currently changing by 0. Because if I whack the slider to the left, it will then start lowering inflation. If I have 0, then that's 0. And if I go further to the right, it will start giving me inflation, which I don't want. Let me just automate that. That just seems like a thing that should be automatable, to me, personally. Just my opinion, at least. Throughout the process, you'll be supported by contextual hints, tooltips, and small achievable goals that illustrate how your actions shape the course of history. Once you've mastered these essentials, you'll be ready to specialize and move on to one of the 3 specific playstyle walkthroughs focused on politics, economy, and expansion. So this one's going into the diplomatic actions, and it just asks you to improve opinion. There's actually 2 places where this is. You can either improve opinion here with your, handy drop-down doodad, or you can just click the button up here. Including, up here is the curry... No, this is not curry favors. This is increase trust between you and whoever you're talking to, in this case Flanders. We have... This one's curry favors. I actually don't remember what this one is. Fabricate a claim, declare war. Also, the star is if you want them to just, pop the country itself on the outliner. Can be useful. We have the economy walkthrough telling you about markets. I probably need a refresher on this one, if I'm being perfectly honest. I generally just automate trade, and I lower the amount that the trade that the AI is allowed to use my trade. Do a certain trade that I'm really looking for, and then I whack automation back up again. Is it the best way? Is it the way that's going to make me those most money? No, but it is an enjoyable way to play the game. And also you can see a little bit what I was talking about with Bruges being very, very small and hemmed in, and maybe not the best or brightest little trade node in the world. We also have the War in Expansion tutorial telling you exactly how all of that's supposed to work as well. Very nice. Each walkthrough is tied to a set of learning mission trees, and he'll talk about this later on, that gradually unlock as you progress. Completing these missions transitions you from guided play into fully integrated gameplay, effectively merging learning with doing. The missions that I guess he's going to go into later, I think they are used specifically for the tutorials, but I think they probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for... Honestly, if it wasn't for Anbana. Mods like Anbana, like Antebellum, utilize the mission trees of EU4 for some truly magical things. And I think the team recognized that the mods like these were probably going to be very upset about not having mission tree framework to, continue their mods with. So I think mission trees were added... The functionality for them were added for the mods. This is purely speculative opinion, by the way. This is not something that any dev has ever told me. But once these mission trees, okay, we need them to be in at least for mods, but I don't want them for narrative content of EU5 itself. What do we use them for in-game? Okay, we'll just use them for tutorials. That seems like an also pretty decent decision to make. Basically, everyone gets what they want, unless you really wanted mission trees in EU5 vanilla to do narrative stuff, but you don't get that, so deal with it. But either way, I think they made probably the best decision they could have in this scenario, because then Ambanai gets what it needs, and EU5 gets what it needs, and that's just a good situation. Anyway, the 3 pillars of EU5's onboarding. When we started designing these systems, we realized that teaching a grand strategy game requires more than just good UI. It's about psychology, pacing, and motivation. We broke down the problem, divide et impera style, into 3 guiding principles. Divide et impera was such a good mod. That was such a good mod. Anyway, integration. Tutorials should feel like a part of the game, not a separate mode. The pace, complexity should unfold gradually in order to avoid players feeling overwhelmed. And the reward, learning should be enjoyable, satisfying, and dare we say fun. True. So how do you integrate? How do you make the tutorials feel like a part of the game? Nobody likes old school tutorials. The type that makes you go to an isolated game mode, feels like a mandatory chore to do before actually playing, and tells you click here to build a castle, without explaining why and when you should really do that. Players skip them because they feel artificial, disconnected from the actual play experience. In particular, we as grand strategy players tend to be independent-minded. We do not want to be told exactly what to do before understanding why we're doing it. I mean, I feel like grand strategy players generally don't like tutorials because they've generally been pretty shit. they've generally been pretty bad, so yeah. I mean, just make a good tutorial, it'd be fine, right? Instead of front-loading information, we built EU5's onboarding around a simple truth of game design. Willingness to learn is directly tied to time investment. This idea became one of the guiding principles, and it aligns nicely along the philosophy George Fan described in his CDC talk, how he got his mum to play Plants vs. Zombies. Fair enough. In EU5... Actually, that's funny, because my son... he's not really into it anymore, but he was really into Plants vs. Zombies at a certain point, and he got my parents to play it. I don't think they enjoyed it. I don't think they played it, when he wasn't there. But they learned how to play. I mean, it's a thing that they know how to do now. In EU5, integration means embedding learning directly into the fabric of the game itself. Rather than just trusting an isolated tutorial as a separate mode, we've created a network of in-game tools that naturally support players as they play, so learning happens seamlessly, in context and at their own pace. These tools take many forms: tooltips, hints, alerts, and even custom-tailored hints for situations, certain game mechanics, and each of the 6 recommended countries they offer at the game start. I do like the hint system sometimes. Like, you're looking at one of the tooltips, like obviously buildings missing inputs. You get your tooltip dropping down telling you what you need, and then you can open the hint to tell you, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to get what I need? And it'll tell you, oh, by the way, you can click on the RGO button, see a list of the locations in the market with the relevant RGO. That seems like a good idea. That could be done. Building button to see a list of buildings that can produce them, or you can import it. Like, it tells you how you have a problem. You have a button here, and instead of doing the thing for you, it will tell you where to go to do that, which I think is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Alerts, blue. Okay, yeah. Again, I'm. This is just. I love it. I love it so much. Certain things I don't love about it, but we'll go into it. This is talking about the alert system. You have blue for tips, green for things you can do, yellow for things you can attend, orange for urgent things, red top tier urgency and wars. That's the problem. Purple and black for situations and disasters. Yeah, we go back. It's good. It's good, right? But some things not good about it. For starters, this is a red tooltip for me. If you do not have a research going on, that is an urgent, you need to go and fix this now, thank you, situation. This goes over here. This one is you have a cabinet action, or you have a cabinet slot doing nothing. You should probably go and deal with that. This, very important, should go over here. You have a government reform, you know, your estate's privileges, but for the crown. You have government reform that you can slot in. It's not green. That should be like yellow for me. You're at war and you have levies unraised. Please go and fix this. Maybe yellow. Yellow seems good. This one is you have spare diplomats, and holy boy, he does have spare diplomats. 15 is crazy. Go spend those, boy. That's fine. Buildings missing inputs. One of your armies doesn't have a commander or navy. Your pops have demands that you should be able to meet. You have buildings that are not profitable. You don't have enough gold in your market, so your minting is being, hampered by the lack of the material that you need to mint. People can join a coalition against you. Or I think you could join a coalition against someone else. They've got very similar icons. There are unhappy estates. I mean, looking over at his estates, they're all incredibly unhappy, that's true. Probably not helped by the fact he has minus 73 stability. This one, this is new. This is one that has just come, for me at least, in the past day. This means you're above your fort limit. What is your fort limit? Well, in EU4, of course, you have a force limit, which means, as soon as you reach that with the amount of troops you have, going over that means that you spend a lot more on your troops than if you weren't over your force limit. This kind of works similarly, but for forts, it is an attempt to stop the fort spam. You have a certain amount of forts that you are allowed to build. If you go over it, they are more expensive. That's just basically it. That's basically it. That's how it works. I've yet to see it working like super well. I've not gone super far into a game to see, I need this more. I believe everyone gets +1 at the start. Every city gives +2. And then every town gives a little bit, I think. Basically, as Milan at the start of the game, I had like a 7 or 8 limit, maybe 9 limit, and I was using like 2 or 3. So it's not exactly super restrictive, but it does stop like infinite fort spam, which is nice. Here we have the problematic child, the problem child, the ugly sibling in the room. This is your war tab. You know when you're playing EU4 and you have your war and it's down at the bottom of your screen, like it's down here? Well, now it's at the top bar. This thing should be here. I hate it up here. It's such a terrible idea. This down here. This here down here. Please. EU4 did it better. Like, I don't think we should be in a situation where I can point to something in EU4 and say, this game did it better. This thing that is a one-to-one correlation, system-wise, EU4 did it better. I don't think we should have to say that at any point. Like, EU5 should be a pure upgrade over EU4. And putting a war, especially if you have multiple wars going on at the same time, in the alerts bar, like, no. It's a bad idea. I hope they change it. I really do. And obviously, I made a feedback ticket back in May about it. I made the same feedback ticket when I got access again to the game like a month ago now. And just as soon as we got the new update earlier today, I wrote on that original feedback thing saying, by the way, I still feel strongly that this is the case. Please change it. Because I really don't like it up there. Really don't. But, moving on. Hints in particular are always accessible, but also appear when it's relevant to the agenda. Yeah, I have an agenda. Helping players connect cause and effect as they go. For those who prefer a more structured approach, everything is also gathered in the central learning hubs, such as the Europedia and the hints panel, accessible at any time. So, yeah, you can open up, basically, like, your Civilopedia, you now have a Europedia, which lets you basically look at anything you need. The result is an onboarding experience that feels less like following instructions and more like discovering how to play one decision, one insight, one tooltip at a time. And I think something is going in my throat. This is worrying. Well, we've got a lot. We've still got a lot to go through, haven't we? We're fine. Pace. Yes, this is what I need to do. I need to pace myself so I don't use all of the voice. Here is another truth about grand strategy games. They can be overwhelming. At the start of a typical campaign, you're greeted by a wall of spreadsheets, buttons, tabs, flashing alerts. One of those alerts should be down the bottom, all demanding attention all at once. For new players, that's not depth, it's a fast-tracked panic mode. To tackle this, we look towards a timeless principle of good design, the inverted pyramid of decision-making, which in a complex game such as this resonates quite well. A game should begin with just a few meaningful choices and gradually expand as the player's understanding grows. By the time you're managing multiple systems, you already know what each of them means and why it matters. That principle works naturally in turn-based games where time conveniently stops while you think, but grand strategy titles live and breathe in real time and not as just a turn-based scale, which makes pacing far trickier. So we asked ourselves, how do we recreate that gentle learning curve? So the answer is adaptive automation. Okay, I even now I've played 400 hours of EU5. I still use a lot of automation in my games. I just do. It just makes sense to do. It is the most fun way to play, in my opinion. In EU5, most major systems can be automated. It's optional, flexible, and entirely under the player's control. Early on, you might automate several of these systems to focus on the fundamentals or simply the playstyle tied to the recommended country of your choice, learning what matters without juggling everything at once. As your mastery goes, you can start switching off automation features by feature, taking full control at your own pace. I didn't have this experience. I didn't be like, oh, I'm going to learn about this, so everything else is going to get automated, and I'll just learn about this thing, and okay, I've learned about this thing, let me go turn this thing off. Like, that wasn't my experience, but then I came from an EU4 kind of background, so maybe for a brand new player, that might be useful. It wasn't to me, but it's fine. That's not how I did it anyway. This not only creates a smoother onboarding for newcomers, but also gives veterans powerful tools to shape their experience. That's me there. A long campaign naturally goes through phases. Perhaps during wartime, you can let your economy run itself, and in peacetime, you turn your attention inward, managing estates and diplomacy in detail. Adaptive automation isn't just for beginners, it's a quality of life system for everyone. I'm a big fan of quality of life systems. And you know what, I'll tell you, right? Some of these automation systems I'm never ever going to use. I'm just like, even, you know, I'm in a big war. I'm struggling here. I'm treading water, fighting for my life. I'm still not going to turn on the automate building button. It's just not happening. Close and open buildings? Nope. AI is not allowed to touch that. Thank you very much. Honestly, any of these, funnily enough, the one that he hasn't got on here is trade, and this is the one that I turn on. Production methods, yep, the AI can handle that for me. Thank you very much. I think when you are a much, much larger country and you make a lot of money, allowing the AI to build buildings is probably okay. And you can say, okay, I don't want you to spend down so that I've got, you know, 0 money. If you spend up until the point where I've got 100 or 1,000 or whatever, that's, you know, that's what this slider is for. And it works pretty well. It works pretty well. But I wouldn't use that unless I'm making like 20k a month. It's just not necessary. It just really isn't. Each playstyle walkthrough gently guides players towards which systems they might want to automate first, depending on their chosen playstyle and recommended country. You can toggle automation on or off at any time, using it to pace your learning, or simply take a breather from managing every moving part of an empire. In the end, pace in EU5 means freedom, freedom to decide how much you want to handle, when you want to handle it, and how you want to grow into the full complexity of the game. It's learning through empowerment, not restriction. Yeah, so of the automation things that I always turn on and honestly keep on throughout the entire game, I will turn on trade, and the AI can handle trade. Turn on production methods, AI can handle that as well. If you scroll this list all the way to the bottom, I also turn on assigning generals, believe it or not, because the AI does a pretty good job of just choosing whoever has the most stats, and unless I'm looking for, oh, I need a, 100 admin guy because I need a siege guy, I can do that myself if I so desire, and the automation doesn't replace him, so that seems fine to me. I'm also contemplating whether automated exploration is probably a good idea. When I had it turned on, it was unfortunately choosing really old people to go on exploration. So every few months, I would get a notification saying, "Oh, your explorer guy just died of old age. Gotta send a new one there." And then the AI would send a new one there, and he'd also be really old. If they can fix that situation, and I've not gotten to the colonization era in my games today, then I'll probably turn it back on again. But I did find that when it was myself doing the exploration, I would kind of fall behind because it's a very busy system. There's a lot of areas, and again, you can only colonize or explore in areas rather than regions. I hope they change that. So it's a very busy system. You're doing it a lot, and yeah, I just fell behind because it's just busy work, really. So turning it on, good if they fix it. I will probably do that again. But yeah, those are things that I automate. I feel it's pretty good, pretty rewarding, let's say. But on to the rewards. The elephant in the room. Tutorials are rarely fun. They're often skipped or rushed through just to get to the real game, but in a grand strategy game like EU5, the process of figuring things out can be half the fun if players have the right tools and structure around them. Beyond the integration and pacing systems we've already discussed, we want to add another layer that taps directly into the player's sense of motivation and accomplishment. Research into learning and cognition constantly shows that there's a deep understanding happens when one actively performs a task, not when they just follow instructions. Players learn best when they take meaningful actions, see the results, and connect cause and effect on their own. Okay, that makes sense. That's where the learning mission trees come in. Each mission tree offers a series of short-term, focused objectives, not abstract lessons, but real gameplay challenges that matter to your nation. You might be asked to establish a trade route, integrate your territory, balance your estates, or wage limited war under certain conditions. Completing these tasks feels satisfying because they represent genuine progress inside a campaign. They also feel rewarding because if you turn on the game rule that allows you to get rewards after every one of the missions, you could really get yourself a rather large boost in the direction that you choose. One of these, I believe it might be the economy trade one, essentially lets you get like 50 centralization societal value. It's a little crazy. It is just a little bit crazy. So I've actually taken to not playing with missions because it just feels a little cheaty. But for a tutorial, perfectly see the reason for it. It's absolutely fine. If you are, somebody with 1,000 hours in the game generalist, you should probably turn it off because it's not representative of the real game generalist. But no, it's I by default these I believe are off, and I think that's generally where they should be after you've learned how to play the game. Anyway, moving on though, missions in EU5 act as a bridge between theory and experience. They encourage players to make decisions that are both educational and impactful. Every completed goal reinforces a mechanic and context, so players aren't simply memorizing features, they're mastering them through meaningful play. There's a lot of words. But yeah, having mission trees in the game is seriously a good thing. They can obviously be a lot wider than EU4's mission trees, which only, were limited to, I think, 4 across. Now, I mean, you've got 5 here. They spread out a little bit, but you got space for like 7, maybe 8 if you cut down the size of the things. But I think these are, like I said, they're here for the mods. They're not here for regular play after you've learned the game. And it's really good to see them in here. It is really, really good to see them in here. You do obviously have various books, I'm going to call them, right? This is one mission tree. This is developing a capital economy mission, which is one book within the economy bookshelf, whatever, which is within the mission framework. Imagine the strength that like Anbanar could use for this. They could have, this is the book of all the countries that are in the Raj, and then this one here is for the countries that have this thing, and this one here is for your specific tag. Like, Anbanar is going to make absolute magical work of this system, and I can't wait to see what they do. But for EU5 Vanilla, it's not something that I really want to do much at all. Like I say, I've learned the game. Right now, I don't feel the need for this, and it does feel a little bit cheaty because you get bonuses for relatively easy things. As you complete missions of a specific playstyle, the game can gradually reduce automation on relevant systems, letting you take control naturally and allowing you to unlock the rest of the walkthroughs. You're not being lectured or led by the hand. Instead, the game offers you the chance to earn your understanding step by step. Fair enough. I've got some... Obviously, they're up in your outliner as well. You can see where you're progressing and all that kind of stuff. So, to wrap up, designing an onboarding system for a grand strategy game as deep as EU5 has been one of our toughest and most rewarding challenges that they've tackled at Tinto. Their goal wasn't just to make the game easier to learn, but to make learning it part of the experience itself. From recommended countries and adaptive walkthroughs to hints, automation, and learning mission trees, everything is designed to guide without restricting. You can skip steps, turn off missions, or jump straight into free play whenever you like. You're the ruler. We just hand you the tools. Continue refining the systems as we gather feedback from internal testing and eventually from us all. Awesome. Awesome. Like I said, this is the best tutorial Paradox has ever done. Previously, that was held by CK3. However, this game wins in the tutorial regard because you can do this tutorial with basically any country in the world. Some countries can find it easier to actually pass through the tutorial than others. Make a positive balance. Some countries just get incapable of that right now. I think one of the tutorial missions is like to build a road. If you're a one location miner, that's going to be quite difficult. Of course, if you're in the HRE, then you can build a road between yourself and your neighbor. But what if you're a one location miner that has like an island? What if you choose to play the tutorial as Jersey? The vassal Jersey. You ain't building any road to anyone there. But for the most part, like, the tutorial is fantastic. It teaches you how to play the game, and does it in a way that isn't complete ass. So, you know, it's a thumbs up from me. Of course, there are a bunch of developer comments that we will go through now, starting with this one here. What about hints? Do they only show up in tooltips or something? So hints live in their own tab on the right corner of the interface, so they won't create any on-screen spam. Yeah, you actually need to open up that part of the menu if you want to. Since many hints are linked directly to mechanics and dynamic alerts, you'll still be able to open the related hint instantly in the hints panel by shift left-clicking the related alert or tooltip. Very nice indeed. Would it not be better to have regional alternative stats like CK3's starting region rulers for 867? That way more countries can be recommended and more regions shown. Because, of course, you know, having 6 and they're all being in Europe-ish, I mean, it's a little restrictive in a way. And yeah, it's a great point. The original concept for recommended countries actually included about 36 nations worldwide across 4 different playstyles, but that scope turned out to be too ambitious to keep a strong balance between content and onboarding flow. That said, the walkthrough system and the learning missions can be played with any country, so you're never locked out of the experience and you can learn the game with whichever country you prefer. We felt these 6 nations best capture the spirit and teaching goals of each playstyle while keeping the first-time experience focused and cohesive. Do you ever consider a narrated advisor for the game like in Stellaris? Would that be something to add in the future or unnecessary? I really glad they didn't. Don't need narrated, guys. No thanks. It was discussed internally, and they have advisors in EU5. Instead of narrated, they take the form of actual courtiers who share knowledgeable tips through the hints panel as you play. Yeah, I can show you an example of that. If I can see where they are. Here. It's not anything super special, but you'll have a guy at the top giving you a little quote. And sometimes, I mean, obviously this one is just introducing himself, but sometimes these are, like, more meaningful to what's going on. Also, the bloody brows on this guy. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, I'm glad they didn't have this, because that would have been really unwelcome for me. Is Castile a really good onboarding country with a civil war a few decades after the start of the game? Please don't tell me the civil war has been made easy to avoid. So as long as Alfonso XI is alive, it's a really good country to learn warfare on a bigger scale compared to the Ottomans. But no, they haven't tweaked any content to make it easier for newcomers, and it will be difficult, hard for any player. What are you asking about here? I'm bothered by the fact that Naples doesn't have a Kia. Well, whatever. Don't care. How much... Yeah, the brow... Like I said, the brows, man, the brows. How much flavor does Norway have compared to the other 5 nations? It's tier 4 nation, has some advances in DHEs, but it's not a country that been focusing on. But it was super interesting mechanical gameplay due to geography, like I was saying at the start of the video, and setup, which is why they've chosen it as a recommended one. A great dev diary, wondering what the onboarding system was. A few things that you noticed. A bit like Vic 3 tutorials, but I think it's better in most regards. I don't think I remember this at all, so whatever. Really like the UI. Glad to see the missions. Alright. Glad you like it. We have automation systems covering most major mechanics, including trade, markets. You can automate whole markets, but lock specific trades. It's really good. Production methods, buildings, government features like laws, reforms, cabinet, parliament, plus diplomacy, construction of buildings, recruitment for units, and many more. Allowing the AI to recruit my units? No. No. I do think the automation tools make it so that if I need to go for like 10 minutes during a multiplayer game, my country won't fall apart. That might be something nice, but yeah, I don't know. But also there's military automation too through military objectives like the Imperator system. You can assign armies and fleets to take tasks like carpet sieging, hunt enemy forces, patrolling the seas, many more. Plan to keep expanding automation granularly over time. Expand, especially for systems where more fine-tuned control make management even smoother and more rewarding. Cool. Once we've learned how to play, can we please disable the tutorial-related UI elements? Yes, that's part of the plan. They offer the most comfortable experience possible for both veterans and newcomers, so systems designed as power tools for all players like automations and hints will always remain optional and fully toggleable. Meanwhile, more onboard focus features such as walkthroughs and missions can be completely disabled through the game rules if you prefer a clean tutorial-free experience, and that's what I've been playing with recently. I'm hoping the tutorial would help me with the UI. In CK3 and Imperative's tutorials, I barely found a quarter of the interfaces. And yeah, I feel like it really does a good job of doing this. Like, it shows you every one of the panels, the UIs, etc. But yeah, it's one of the goals. Big part of the walkthrough is to help players build core muscle memory for key actions and learn where mechanics and panels live in the interface. They want the tutorial to make navigating the UI feel natural from the very start. Also, Castile is the most obvious beginner-friendly nation in EU4. In EU4, you have a 5-country list where what you play. First, you play the Ottomans, so you can learn warfare. Then you play as Austria, so you can learn diplomacy. It's actually a 4-step. I forgot. It's a 4-step, not 5-step. Then you play as Castile, so you can learn exploration. Then you play as France, so you can learn put them all together in the same thing. Because France does the warfare, it does the diplomacy, and it does the colonization. And then you play England. That's number 5. You play England because fuck France. Moving on. But yeah, Castile obviously, has the instability and devastation, 2-decade-long civil war. I mean, this is where the Trastamaras came to power, I believe. But yeah, just going into like the lore, the IRL lore of Castile, and why they may be a better tag to play, because the stability is good here, not good here. But you can probably avoid this part, or maybe this is a good way to cap off your learning experience to, okay, now you've learned the mechanics, go enjoy a civil war and figure out how to, navigate that. That'd be a good idea. And finally, a guy here asking about Castile again. Is the implication here that the instability of 1350 to 85 be easily avoidable? It would be only a shame content-wise, but also brings about questions about how trivially easy playing Castile would be. As others have pointed out, they already start as the strongest tag in Europe. What others? Point out the others. Like, why? You haven't played the game. Why would you say this? Pavia wouldn't consider Castile the strongest tag in Europe. Nor would I. At some point, if we consider that it's not well balanced, they'll nerf some stuff. Yeah, okay. And then here as well, Hungary getting picked as the economy tutorial feels weird, because of reasons. Something that's not very well known is that around these years, Hungary was the 3rd richest country in Europe in tax revenue, just behind France and England. And the reign of Charles Robert was probably the apogee of royal power in the kingdom, leaving behind a wealthy country and a healthy treasury to his son and successor, Louis the Great. In EU5, a really cozy country to learn about the economy, and there's plenty of cash on hand to kick off the economic development in several fronts, like RGOs, buildings, roads, etc. Also, really, really good RGOs in Hungary. Really, really good. But yeah, I think Hungary definitely deserves its place on this lovely list. But anyway, this is where I'm going to leave you. Like I said, I got access to EU5 when I woke up today, and I've been playing it a bit, and I've been enjoying it a bit, and I've been enjoying the changes, and I need to do a bit more learning, and I'm looking forward to that. Game releases in a little under 3 weeks. I have got a video that I can release on the 31st, which I am very nervous about. I know who I'm playing. Yeah, I'm nervous about it, but hopefully it goes well. The release, of course, on the 4th of November, when you get to play for yourselves. And I hope you guys are going to have a great time with it when it releases. Yeah, that's it from this video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.